All right, guys, welcome back to the Casual Combat MMA show. It's been a while. We took 2 weeks off. It has been a combination of busyness and lack of motivation and lots of things outside of our
fighting for life. Me fighting for life against COVID.
Cal fighting for life against COVID. Right? I wasn't going to say it. I didn't know if you wanted it to be known publicly. I stopped.
I am riddled with COVID right now.
But yeah, so long story short, for the first time in the podcast's short history, I don't know, we've been doing this, about 3 months now?
Yeah.
Close to that. We had to take a break, and then the 1 week break turned into a 2 week break, but we are back at you guys for a short recap of what happened last week, a quick recap of kind of some drama politics that we're talking about, and then previewing, obviously, what everybody's probably here for, all hundreds of you, which is 256, UFC 256, headlined by Davison Figuerato and Moreno as we get into next week. And this is the last pay-per-view of the year, right? Yeah. Yep, last pay-per-view.
No, there's still one next week.
No, next week's not a pay-per-view.
Last pay-per-view, I'm sorry, yes. Not last fight.
Yeah.
Last pay-per-view.
We still got a card. But this coming week is filled with action, so let's get right into it. But I forgot to introduce my co-host as always, Cal. We already kind of know how it's doing or how it's going.
I have decided to change my name from Casual Cal to COVID Cal.
Yep. Those of you that follow us on on Twitter will notice that we put a nice little Santa hat on our profile picture. I don't even know if Cal saw that yet.
I did it. That's good stuff.
But it was a hard time deciding what the head of the logo was, whether it was the big C's or it was just the little octagon. So I chose just the octagon.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah, but I figured that we were festive.
Yeah, for sure.
But what happened last week, Cal? We both watched the fights. We actually FaceTimed each other or Zoom called each other. I can't remember which one, but we got to watch the fights together remotely.
Yeah. I think first of all, we got to talk about Jordan Leavitt and the knockout double leg arm to neck. Dude, that was one of the cooler things I've seen.
That was one of the cooler things I've seen, and initially to me it looked like just kind of like a crazy like slam knockout, which it was. But there was actually quite a bit of technique, right? Like Jordan Leavitt actually framed him up and timed his drop and timed exactly where he was going to hit. Like it was more technical than it appeared to be, which I thought was pretty cool.
And I think Wyman felt like he was not in any danger. Like I assume he thought he was going to land on his back, but not be knocked out, and he was out.
He was smiling and laughing as he was getting carried.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't understand.
And then out cold,
dude. Out
frozen,
super cold.
And also, and I'm just casual. I'm sure this isn't the first time, but Leavitt kind of I picked that up from a guy who I think he did it 3 times. I'm like, I don't know if I've ever seen that exact knockout.
No, I mean maybe I've seen it in a knockout compilation, but
I've seen a double to a slam, but never he purposely put his forearm across his neck.
Yeah, that was intentional. He knew what he was doing there, which
that's what put him out.
Props to him. Big brain Leavitt.
That was pretty sweet, and he's kind of unique. I think I'm one of his fans now. He looks like he could be a stud.
Yeah, dude. I'm not sure I'm on the bandwagon, but I'll watch when he fights. That's for sure.
He loses me a little bit in the fact that he's just starting to weightlift. I don't know how you got to where you're at now.
Yeah, although I can sympathize with him, I never lifted weights. No, I wasn't an undefeated UFC fighter. But yeah.
Oh my gosh, but yeah. The co-main Jamal Hill looked really good, I thought. He pounded OSP. Dude's got ridiculous power. He's pretty scary, to be honest.
He definitely still needs some refinement, I think. I don't think he's ready for a big name. I think that was the perfect matchup for him. I think OSP was a great guy that's kind of on the come down as Jamal Hill is coming, as an up-and-comer. I think they met perfectly at an intersection where their talent, to be honest, was probably pretty similar to each other.
It was a good test, too, because OSP isn't strictly a striker by any means.
Yeah.
And Jamal Hill has been. So to prove that you're not going to get taken down and wrestled against a guy like that definitely says something about his fighting ability and skill level.
Exactly. So I think Jamal Hill is somebody definitely to watch as his career progresses, as well as just because he's a fun and exciting fighter. What does his tattoo say? I saw he had the tattoo that has the two thumbs up. I couldn't read what the maybe.
I didn't even notice.
Well, maybe the next time we see him, we'll look.
Ask him.
We'll ask him. Yeah, next time I see him, I'll ask.
Like, hey, what's that tattoo?
Hey, man,
please don't punch me. And then our main event, Marvin Vettori beats Jacare Manson. And Vettori is a stud.
I'm going to be honest. I didn't see this one coming. You and I went back and forth on this, behind the scenes and texting and calling. I did not think that Marvin Vettori had a chance. And obviously, that was the wrong take.
He's like a brawler, but it doesn't seem like he possesses like the knockout power. Like,
no.
He's really good. Like, he's a really good kickboxer, but he's not like going to drop someone stone cold. I mean,
a little bit like Reckless Colby.
Right. That's a good comparison. Like, he is like, that would be a crazy fight, actually.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But like, I think last week was kind of one. I mean, I've got to stop being surprised by these, right? A card that doesn't have much hype, right? A few things fall through. You're not super excited about it. And then they turn out to be awesome fights, right? Yeah. I've come to learn that if a guy is in the UFC, they have potential to put on a banger of a fight, right? Yep. And sometimes those big names, right, just because they're big names, they can end up being crappy fights, right? Like, look at Yoel Romero versus Israel Adesanya for the belt. Right? That was a snooze fest.
Yep, that was the worst.
The worst.
But yeah, there was a ton of good fights. That was a fun card to watch.
Did it boxing. But speaking of Yoel Romero, big news, big drama, big politics in the MMA world this week. Dana White has cut Yoel Romero and said that he plans on cutting at least 60 more by the end of the year. Now, I've seen a few takes on MMA Twitter at who these might be. I think my take is a little bit more less popular. A little less popular than most, but I truly think that my theory is right. But first, Cal, what do you think the prototype of a person who's getting cut in the UFC is as of right now? Who are you if you are afraid for your job?
Well, by cutting Yoel Romero, it's going to be guys who are getting paid a decent amount right now, and it's guys who are losing. Dana White is a true sportsman in the fact that I don't think he gets like Yoel Romero still sells like on a card, but Dana White says he's old and he's lost 4 of his last 5. So what good is he here? Like, it's going to be people who can't possibly be a champion, who are losing, have lost more lately. And I really thought that a guy like Yoel Romero, a guy like Cowboy Cerrone, I thought it was going to protect them, that they had the following that they do and the excitement. I thought that was good enough. I thought it was just about selling, views.
And I think you said you didn't see my tweet, but that was almost my take exactly, with a little bit of a twist. I think the guys that are going are the guys that are making money right now and not really contending for a title. Right? In my tweet, I used Yoel Romero, Tyron Woodley, and Robbie Lawler as perfect examples, right? Guys that rake in the money every time they fight. They have really no chance at a title. Look, I would say that Yoel Romero has the best chance at a title of all of the people that I mentioned. Right? Donald Cerrone falls into that category. Obviously, Diego Sanchez. I think Chris Weidman falls into this category, right? As well as those guys that just aren't producing anything, right? But I think part of this is because, you said that Dana White is such a fight nerd, right? He likes those fights that have, those cards that I just talked about that don't have big names but have bangers of fights. That's what Dana likes, right? UFC makes so much money that they could care less. I'm not saying they could care less about selling a lot of pay-per-views, but people are going to watch what they put out, right? And he's got his stars, and I think he really wants to push these Dana White Contender Series guys, right? These young guys that have proven themselves in the pandemic to be ready to fight on a few days' notice, that are hungry, that are putting on bangers of fights, right? Guys that you've never heard of that are getting fight of the night, 2 fight of the nights, right? Like, those are the guys that Dana wants to grow as the UFC's brand. truly the promotion with the best talent, right? Not the biggest names. Now, I think the second part, and I didn't even think of this factor until today, I think that Dana White wants to get rid of his ex-stars because he wants other promotions to pick them up. Mm-hmm. All right? And I saw this because PFL and Bellator both passed on Yoel Romero, right?
Really?
And I believe they both said, we do not want to sign Yoel Romero. And I believe it is because they understand what Dana might be trying to do here, right? Right now, Bellator has done a very good job at raising their own talent, right? Having young guys like Aaron Pico, young guys like Ed Ruth, young guys, I cite a lot of wrestlers, right? But AJ McKee comes to mind. A whole bunch of guys that have started in Bellator and now are for real talents, right? Guys like Michael Chandler used to be, right? Patricio Pitbull, Frieri, I don't know how to pronounce that. But what Dana wants to do, I think, in order to keep him on top, is he wants to get rid of his ex-stars, and he wants all those other promotions to gobble up the ex-UFC stars, right? And then if those ex-UFC stars become studs, then Dana White can be like, yo, guys, the guys that we cut, our rejects, are better than the best that they had, right? That is such a good way to stay on top when your rejects, right? When Bellator puts on a main event that's Tito Ortiz versus Chael Sonnen. Sorry, Uncle Chael, love you, but you know, at 40 plus years old, you shouldn't be headlining a card, especially a card that has Aaron Pico on it, right? You've got Rampage, you've got Vanderlei Silva, right? Those are more freak show main events. Then Dana White has strictly said, I'm not in it for freak show fights. I'm in it to see the best fighters in the world fight each other.
Yeah.
And I believe that Bellator also believes that, right? Not only because they've done such a good job of growing that crop, right? They used to kind of be an ex-UFC promotion. They're not, and they're passing on guys like Yoel, right? My knee-jerk reaction for Bellator would to be like, you bet, Yoel, come here. But I think it's a good move for them to stay away from him. As well as staying away from guys that are, I think, inevitably going to get cut, like Chris Weidman, like Tyron Woodley, like Robbie Lawler, like Donald Cerrone. I think it would be wise to stay away from those guys. Because you don't want washed up guys in the UFC becoming your better guys.
Right. No, that's an interesting take. That makes sense, too. I mean, there's got to be a place for those guys to fight.
Oh, I know. And I think that it's not – I selfishly want those guys to still fight somewhere because I want to watch them, right? I want to see beat the hell out of some worse competition. But if I'm a promoter
and we saw this a couple weeks ago when Anderson Silva retired, and I was like, okay, Anderson Silva's like really, really past his prime. But like you stated, Yoel Romero just fought for a title.
Yeah.
And now we're done with him.
Yeah. And not only that, but that frees up so much money when those guys are gone to then pump more Dana White Contender Series guys in. I'm not saying that's the right choice, right? Me as a fight nerd or a growing fight nerd, right? I still don't know quite all of it, but I think that gets some more interesting matchups.
I wonder if there's ever a point where, like, in these meetings, like between Yoel and like those guys, and they say, "Hey, we're gonna let you go." If there's ever a point like we're like, "Hey, if you want to stay here, you can only make this much money based on what you've done."
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think he just says, "Hey, we're gonna cut ties with you."
Yeah, I don't think there was much negotiation in that. I think they both kind of were just like, "Yeah, we're done."
Yeah, but
I think that Yoel is knowing that Yoel was the first one to get cut is a very good indication of the archetype of fighter that is going to be cut here in the future. You know,
because I would assume if someone had asked you or someone asked me, if you said, do you think Yoel Romero was going to be the next person cut from the UFC? I would say not a chance. Why would they cut Yoel Romero?
Dude, I was truly surprised. And then that got me
thinking. I assumed he walked out on them when I first heard the news.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, must have been contract dispute or something, and Yoel wanted out, but nope.
Yeah, I had never heard of any animosity. It sounds like there was none. I think he just kind of took it as, okay.
Yeah.
You know.
Crazy stuff. It's scary, though, too, because you and I both have a lot of guys who we like who aren't the best guys, and could be gone tomorrow.
Yeah, I think anybody that should be scared are any guys whose career has gotten here and it's starting to trend downward. I don't even think it's necessarily, I mean, I think it is primarily the guys that are downward and getting paid a lot. But if I'm Dana and I see a downward trend in anybody, I'm like, all right, we're cleaning house. Like,
what about if you're Dana? What do you do with like Anthony Smith? Is he safe now because he won his last fight, or is he still in trouble?
In the light heavyweight division, I think he's good right now.
Yeah, I agree, he's good too. But still,
I mean, I would be lying if I said I'm not interested to see the coming weeks. Right? I don't think.
In my opinion, that'd be the next step up. If you get rid of a guy like him, then who is not fair game.
Exactly.
But we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. Another story that we didn't even say we were going to talk about, but I just thought of. Did you see that Aljamain Sterling is going to wrestle Romain Bravo Young?
I did. That's
seriously happening.
Yeah, I think Roman Bravo Young is going to rip through him, if I'm going to be completely honest. But
unless Aljamain Sterling's way bigger than him, and I just don't see a way where that's
he fights at 135. Roman Bravo Young wrestles at 133, I don't think.
Right, but you cut more in a night before weigh-in.
Yeah, Aljamain Sterling was a 133-pounder in college.
Yeah.
He was a D3 All-American, I believe. His senior year, he took 4th. He wrestled for SUNY Cortland.
Okay.
I was actually in one bracket with Aljamain Sterling. We did not.
That would have been cool.
Yeah. Okay, we weren't in the same bracket. We were at the same dual tournament and at the same weight in that dual tournament. We never wrestled each other.
But
if we would have, I would have kicked his ass. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
But that's a fun crossover for sure, and I'm excited to see that.
Yes.
Cool.
Dude, I like when UFC fighters branch out and go back to their original sport. They're clearly not training in that sport, right? We've seen Ben Askren wrestle Jordan Burroughs. We've seen Darren Caldwell wrestle Luke Pletcher, right? It doesn't go – it has not gone good for any of the MMA guys going back because as much as they still train and they're still in shape and they're still athletic, wrestling timing is just something else. If you're not doing it, it's hard to hit. But
I would say this is the UFC's best chance at getting a win over a wrestler.
Yes. No, well, I still think that Roman Bravo Young right now is twice the wrestler that Aljamain Sterling has ever been. I think, in my opinion.
No, you're right for sure. I mean, Roman Bravo Young. I don't see
any way that Aljamain Sterling wins this fight, or this match.
But nonetheless, cool that's happening.
Absolutely.
I should mention that.
Is it going to make me watch the Nittany Lion? I think it will. I'll watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, I will.
I got crack streams for the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club.
I know. It's ridiculous. Crack streams needs to start getting me some wrestling matches. You should not watch fights illegally for free on crackstreams.com.
You shouldn't do that.
It never works every time.
Never works every time. All right, but we got our politics in. We got our recap in. Let's talk what's going on this weekend, Cal. What a great start, a fight to start the early prelims.
The first fight of the night, we got Chase Hooper versus Peter Barrett. Now, Chase Hooper was 9-0 for a while. He was kind of on the come up big time in the UFC. I think he debuted in the UFC at 18.
Yep.
And he was the young fighter on the roster. Yep. He is now 1-1. He lost his last fight. He is fighting Peter Barrett, who was 11-4. All
right, I think it's definitely Barrett, but that's okay.
Barrett, yeah. I'm sorry. He is 1-1 in UFC. He has 7 knockouts and 2 submissions. His last fight was a loss against Yusuf Zalala, who we just saw fight a couple weeks ago. These guys are both somewhat grapplers. Chase Hooper is a huge favorite at -400.
That's pretty high. I'm not sure I would.
No,
what do I know? But
after I was so high on Hooper until he lost to Alex Caceres. His last, who isn't. I didn't know what his ceiling was before that.
Yeah,
and now it's kind of become more of a reality that
yes,
he's not going to be he's not going straight to the belt. He's got some work to do. But I think the UFC has given him a chance to get another win and kind of maybe restart the hype train a little bit that we had going on.
Yes.
But the other thing is his opponent's 34 years old. He's getting up there in age. He, truthfully, that you look at this fight now, this added pressure to a fight like this. If you're 34 and you lose this and you're 1-2 in the UFC, are you done?
And you know that 60 guys are getting cut, right? Fresh in Dana's mind after losing, especially to the prototype of a guy that he wants to build up.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't feel safe if I'm Peter Barrett and lose.
But this is this will be a fun fight. I'm excited to see if Chase Hooper has some growth to his game, and I'm excited to see him back out there.
Yeah, me too.
The next fight we got Sergey Spivak versus Jared Bandera. Jared Bandera is 11-4. He is fresh off his win in the Dana White Contender Series, and he is getting his call out from the Contender Series in Sergey Spivak.
Listen, I think that Jared Bandera is a bum, okay? I don't think he's that good, but I like the guy, right? Jared, if you somehow listen to this, I know I just insulted you, but I like you, right? It was so funny. In my opinion, he was getting his ass kicked on the Dana White Contender Series. He then somehow got on top. This man is huge. This man is like naturally probably 280 pounds. Just laid on the guy, landed a few shots. The guy was like, this man is way too big to be on top of me. I thought for sure that Bandera was not getting a contract. And then in his interview, he was kind of like, yeah, that guy, Spivak, how do I say it? He asked he asked Megan O'Leary or whoever was how he pronounces the guy's name that he was calling out. Like, did you not think of it before? And then he got a contract, and he's getting the guy that he called out.
Who actually is a legitimate fighter.
Yeah.
Sergey's 11-2.
Yeah, no, Jared Bandera's getting crushed. Maybe, unless he gets on top.
And his Spivak's losses are to Walt Harris and Marcin Tybura.
2 studs.
Jared Bandera is 11-4 with 4 losses to people who aren't in the UFC.
He had 4 losses before the Contender Series.
Sergey Spivak is a -225 favorite, and he's probably going to kill Jared Bandera.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I mean, I'm honestly, I am excited for the fight because I just want to see what happens. But
I'm gonna tune in. I like Jared Bandera. I know I just shit on him twice. I like Jared Bandera. He's funny. I hope he wins, and I hope he calls out like Stipe and doesn't know how to say his name.
Stipe
Miocic. I wanted to call it Stipe.
I've been thinking about this. I'd like call it Stipe Miocic. Is that it? I think I just like how he fights.
I hear he's pretty good. If I beat him, I might be a few fights away from the title.
Also, if you're bored, go watch Jared Bandera's interview after the fight. For whatever reason, Meg Oliveira just let him talk forever, and he had nothing to say.
That's right.
This guy doesn't have much to say in general, but
oh man,
he can't leave him in front of a microphone unattended. Oh my gosh,
Jared, if you see this, huge fans.
Jared's gonna come find us and meet us up.
All right. So those are just the early prelims. We're not even into the prelims yet.
So let's hop into the prelims.
All right.
First fight in there I want to talk about is Tecia Torres is fighting Angela Hill. I feel like we've been seeing Angela Hill a lot lately. She is 12-9. Her last loss was a loss to Karate Hottie, Michelle Watterson. Before that, she lost a close fight to Claudia Gadela, and I believe both those fights people thought could have gone either way. I mean, they're tight
agree with that. My hot take on Angela Hill is I think Angela Hill is one of those names that for some reason is more popular than others.
Yeah.
And every time I see her, I'm like, oh, yeah, Angela Hill. Like, I'm not sure I've ever seen her win.
No, she's 12-9. I mean, she's not far above. But exactly, every time I see her when we're going to highlight big fights, I'm like, oh, Angela Hill fights.
Exactly. Like why do I think that Angela Hill is super good? I mean, not everybody in the UFC is good, right? I make shit of Jared Bandera. He's good. Angela Hill, 12-9. I make fun of her. She's good, right? But why do I hold Angela Hill as like an elite strawweight? I don't know.
And I mean, and she's fighting Tisha Torres, who's 11-5, her last 3 losses are to Jessica Andrade, Joanna, and Weili Zhang. I mean, she is fighting. Her losses are to the top people.
Yes.
And she beats the others.
Yes.
Torres is a -105 favorite, a slight favorite, a -105 underdog to Angela Hill's -125 favorite. So pretty much a pick'em fight.
Yeah.
But Angela Hill never beats anyone when it's tough. She'll fight, in my opinion, she's going to fight Tisha Torres. She's going to fight her close. It'll be a close fight, and she'll lose 2 rounds to 1.
Yep. I don't know why we would expect anything else. I mean, certainly anything could happen, but like I would feel dumb picking Angela Hill for the 3rd time in a row, having never seen her win.
And everyone said, I mean, all of her fights, we just said she could have won them, but she doesn't. She doesn't get the job done. She doesn't finish anyone. She doesn't submit people.
Yeah, and I would say Tisha Torres is probably better than Karate Hottie. I mean, maybe. I think that's a good fight, but
yeah,
I think this will be a close fight.
But yeah, and Torres has never lost to Angela Hill. She's losing to big names, the top 3 in the division, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, Andrade isn't there anymore, but regardless.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of that's the first fight on the prelims. And if there's a fight I don't highlight, Nelson, that you want to talk about, let me know. But
no, the next fight I really don't want to talk necessarily about the fight. Bill Quarantillo. I've seen him fight a few times. He's awesome. He ended his last fight in, I believe it was a triangle, and he like 12-6 kind of elbowed while the other guy was in it. It's cool. I don't know who he's fighting. I mean,
he's fighting Gavin Tucker, who's 12-1.
Okay, well, I'm a casual for not knowing who that guy is, but
I don't know that much about that fight. I think Billy is the favorite. But then the next fight that I really want to talk about is my girl Mackenzie Dern is fighting Veronica Hondarova.
Yes, who
Mackenzie
looks
Dern.
Strikingly like Rob Schneider.
Yep.
Sorry, I had to add that.
No, you got to. And if you just look at the pictures, look up Rob Schneider, and then
and Veronica Hondarova.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But Mackenzie Dern is hot off her submission win over Ronda Marcos. She's 9-1. Her only loss is Amanda Ribas. She's a submission specialist. She's a stud. So is Verona. Her only loss, she's 16-1. Her only loss is to Carla Esperanza. So both these, this is going to be. I would assume this fight is going to be. It's either going to be on the ground a lot or none. We see that sometimes you get 2 people like this who are just submission artist, great grapplers, and they kind of nullify each other's grappling.
Yeah, and I believe that Carla Esparza has a win over Rose Namajunas too. So that's not like a win or a loss that's like bad, right? Like that's a real loss. Now
I will say I think Dern has won 3 or 4 in a row. She lost to Ribas, maybe her first or second fight in the UFC, and she's like on a 3 or 4 win streak of all submission finishes.
Yeah.
I also think if they stand and bang, that Mackenzie Dern is probably going to be a little more polished than she is, which I think is why Mackenzie Dern is a -185 favorite to Veronica's +150 underdog.
Yeah, I would agree. One thing that I need to add for fans who don't know much about Mackenzie Dern, I have to talk about this, and I think we even talked about it the last time she was fighting. Right, we covered her fights before.
Yeah,
at least one of her fights. She's from Nebraska, okay? Mackenzie Dern was born and raised in Nebraska. She's a white girl. She spoke English. She decided to move to Brazil to train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Fair. I respect it. That's what you want to get good at. Go for it. But she's only been there for like 4 years, and now her English is almost incomprehensible.
Completely broken.
It's completely broken English, and that just doesn't happen. All right? She's faking it. Or she thinks it's cool. Regardless of why she's doing it, she is faking it. All right? Yeah. When she, in my opinion, wins, this weekend, and I like her as a fighter. Listen to her post-fight interview and just think that this girl grew up in Nebraska. Like, that's so infuriating that she sounds the way that she sounds.
Yeah. When I looked at this fight, as long as we're making enemies today, I thought like this is kind of like hot chick versus ugly chick.
Sometimes you get those in MMA.
And usually the hot chick loses those fights.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hoping this time the hot chick wins.
Yes. Absolutely. Oh, man. All right. Do you have any other prelims you want to talk about? Or
I do not.
Shout out to Cub Swanson. Cub Swanson's fighting Daniel Pineda, but I really don't want to talk about that fight too much. I'll watch the heck out of it, but not really necessarily.
He's another guy who could be gone.
Yeah.
All right. Our first fight on the main card is Junior Dos Santos versus Cyril Game.
Cyril gone.
Gone.
We talked about that before.
I got nervous.
Okay.
Dos Santos is 21-8. He's on a 3-loss streak. But his losses are Ngannou, Blades, and Rosenstruck.
Doesn't matter.
His last win was Derek Lewis.
Which is a good
win.
He's
probably safer at heavyweight.
No, he's not. He has no chance at the title. He is an ex-champ who is getting paid boatloads of money. He is gone. Even if he wins, he's gone.
You're right. He is for sure gone, and that's why he's fighting
Cyril Gane.
Because Cyril Gane is 6-0 and has been just demolishing people. His last win was over Tanner Bosser. He is a -450 favorite.
He's so big. He's so big.
When you see guys who are like 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, and they're fighting serious dudes on main cards in the UFC, they are going to be absolute killers.
Yes. And so he's a kickboxer at heart. And you can watch, I mean, if you YouTube his name, you'll see 100 different kickboxing fights. And he is insane with elbows. He's so good with his striking. And when he got into MMA, he really has gone for takedowns and submissions and has his striking in his back pocket. But it's really interesting to see guys go for those things. It's not like he's a kickboxer with good defense if he has to get there. He's choosing to go to these positions, which really leads me to believe that he might be the total package.
Yeah, he's like his last 3 wins, I think all wins except for Tanner Boss are via submission.
Yeah. And he's a kickboxer. Like, that's just.
I mean, he must have. When you see the guy, you know he has ridiculous power.
Yeah. Also, he looks very much like Anthony Joshua, the boxer. Like extremely similar.
Yeah, you're right.
I saw a picture. So I've known who Cyril Gane is, but I didn't necessarily know what his face looked like because I really don't look at guys' faces. And
yes, you do. Don't tell me you don't look at people's faces.
Well, no, but I saw a picture of him next to Anthony Joshua, and somebody insinuated that they were brothers, and I was like, Anthony Joshua, his brother fights in the UFC? What? And then I felt dumb. I realized that was Cyril Gane, but
yeah.
Anyway,
that's funny.
I'm gonna put up a picture on Twitter of Anthony Joshua's face next to Cyril Gane's face, and you'll understand.
Yeah, this is most likely going to be Junior Dos Santos' UFC retirement fight, whether he wants to or not.
Viking funeral.
That will be the 4th loss in a row. Most likely the 4th time he's been finished in a row.
Yep. Because he's making more money than Yoel.
Yeah.
And B, he's having much worse results and fighting much worse competition.
Yeah. I mean, you lose this fight, then where do you send him?
Oh.
Yeah, home.
You send him home.
Our next fight I am really excited for. I think it's pretty badass that he's coming back this fast after his bout with COVID. Kevin Holland is going to be fighting Jacare. Kevin Holland is fighting his 5th time this year. He is 20-5 on a 5-win streak right now. He's won 6 of 7. He's got wins over Darren Stewart, Joaquin Buckley, Gerald Mearshart. His only loss in the UFC is a submission to Brandon Allen, which was 2 years ago, I believe, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And that can happen. You can get caught in a weird position and submitted. Or not even caught, you can just get up-grappled, and all of a sudden you don't realize how much trouble you're in. But his opponent, Jacare, has been around for a long time. He's 26-8. He has wins over Chris Weidman and Derek Brunson, although those are both in 2018.
Dude,
Since then, he has lost.
Yeah, this is his toughest test. I know that Jacare Souza is not ranked right now, but I'm just looking back over his record right now. I've had a conversation with our good friend Austin Shane. He's got his own MMA podcast, Building a Fighter, if you want to check that out. But like over his whole career, he has been a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion multiple times. Don't quote me on that, I'm pretty darn sure, right? But he's got MMA wins over guys like Matt Lindland, Gegard Mousasi, Robbie Lawler, Derek Brunson twice, Ed Herman. Like you said, Vitor Belfort. He has a loss to Robert Whitaker. He's beaten Chris Weidman. Like, this guy has beaten the who's who of the light heavyweight and middleweight divisions.
And his losses are legitimate guys. Like, I think his last 3 losses are he lost to Jan Blachowicz, he lost to Jack Hermanson, and Kevin Gastelum. I mean, he's never lost to a guy like Kevin Holland.
Yeah.
So this is going to be an interesting fight to figure out where Kevin Holland really is. I mean, that's what this fight is for. The thing that worries me is, so as I stated, I had COVID. I'm almost done with isolation. I had symptoms for like 2 or 3 days, but the days leading up to before I had symptoms and the days now, the last like 3 days, I've been lifting weights again, and my strength is significantly still down, which makes me nervous for a guy like Kevin Holland. If he's not 100%, you can't beat a guy like Jacare when you're not 100%.
Yeah. Well, Jacare did have COVID months ago, so maybe he's still old man.
Kevin Holland is making the fastest turnaround from COVID I've seen on any UFC fight ever. Yeah. He was supposed to fight last weekend.
Yeah.
And then he's good this weekend.
He may have been asymptomatic, though, too.
Yeah, which is true. I still think that it could potentially affect things like conditioning and strength that you don't notice. Yeah. Maybe not, but you don't know.
Yeah. One thing, I know I keep bringing up Twitter. I had somebody on Twitter, I saw a tweet that was their profile picture was Holland, and he was just requesting, he was like, can we get myself to like 60 followers before Holland fights? And I said, and he had a Santa hat on Holland's head. And I said, I will only follow you if you change your account name to Happy Holland Days. And he did. And I followed him. And now that guy's name is Happy Holland Days.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
But at Kevin Holland as a minus 155 favorite, I think he is going to win this fight. I think Kevin Holland is the real deal.
I am going to go against you. I think,
understandable.
Although I'm a Kevin Holland fan, I think that Jacare Souza is by far his toughest attempt or his toughest challenge yet. Yep. And I think Jacare still has some gas left. Whether or not Dana thinks that, I think if Jacare loses this, Jacare's out. But
yeah, it's going to be. I'm definitely excited for that fight.
Yeah.
Obviously, I am so high on Kevin Holland. Had Kevin Holland fought Hermanson this week, I would have picked him.
I wouldn't have also, but
yes, I know. That's why I'm saying we're different. Our opinions on how good Kevin Holland is. But
I like him. I'm a Holland fan. I just haven't seen it from him yet, in my opinion.
But I was gonna say, here's an awesome chance to see him fight a real challenge in Jacare, and we'll see if Kevin Holland really is that guy.
True. Yeah, we gonna find out.
This is huge. I mean, to cap off a 5-win year with a win over Jacare, that really sets you up for an awesome 2021 with some big fights coming your way.
Yeah. I would agree fully.
Our third to final fight, we have Renato Moicano versus Rafael Fiziev.
Yep.
Moicano is 14-3-1. He's a plus 115 underdog in this fight. Significant wins over Cub Swanson, Calvin Kattar, Jeremy Stephens. His most recent losses are to the Korean Zombie and Jose Aldo. Sorry. COVID's getting to me. His opponent, Rafael, is 8-1. He's a -145 favorite. He's 2-1 in the UFC with his most recent win over Mark Jacare. This is going to be a banger of a fight.
This is maybe the fight I'm looking forward to most on the whole card. I love Rafael.
I know we have different opinions on who's going to win this fight.
I think we do.
I think Renato Moicano has never lost. Again, I feel like I'm always saying this. I'm always like, oh, he's never lost to anyone. But until you prove that you beat one of these top names, you never beat. I mean, there are levels, and Renato has proven that he's in the top 10. And Rafael, now not saying that he hasn't had the chance yet to prove it.
Exactly. I think this is one that you could argue both sides, and you really don't like. A lot of times people argue, but everybody kind of knows what's going to happen. I think this one, nobody knows what's going to happen until car crashes start happening in the octagon.
And in a fight like that, anything could happen.
Yeah.
It's just who hits someone on the button first.
Yep. I'm not even sure the person who wins this fight is necessarily the better fighter.
Right.
It's literally just like who's going to go out there and who's going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
The winners are the fans.
Yeah.
I thought you'd agree with me more than that, but all right, that's cool.
Sorry, you were freezing. I got terrible Wi-Fi where I'm at.
That's all right.
My only Rafael's loss is to a guy who I don't know, and I am a casual, but I don't know.
Who is it?
Magomed Mustafayev. That's definitely not right. How I said
I'm
it.
going to be honest, based on your pronunciation, I don't know who that is either. But
his last name is spelled Mustafaev.
Mustafayev.
Oh, good job.
I've heard of him. I don't know. I have never seen him fight.
He's unranked though.
Okay.
He's not.
He sucks.
Calvin Kattar or Jeremy Stephens, who
sucks.
Moicano beat.
It's going to be a banger.
Yeah, it's going to be an awesome fight. Then in our co-main, we get to see the return of Tony Ferguson against Charles Oliveira. And this is a huge fight for the division and just two absolute studs going at it. As most of you know, Tony Ferguson is a stud. He most recently had his 12-fight win streak snapped by Justin Gaethje. He is 25-4. He's got wins over people like Cowboy Cerrone, Anthony Pettis, Kevin Lee, RDA, Edson Barboza. He has beat the who's who in this division.
He has.
Charles Oliveira is on a 7-win streak, and he's really coming on hot right now. He's 29-8. His most recent win was a win against Kevin Lee. His last loss was to Paul Felder, but that was his only loss at lightweight.
Yeah.
Because he went up a weight class. Did he go down?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I believe he went up a weight class. He did. He went up to lightweight.
He's up at lightweight now.
Yes.
Okay.
He has found success there. He's 7-1 at lightweight.
I see.
Someone tweeted the other day, they're like, Tony Ferguson really is the type of guy to go find someone who is Tony Ferguson and kill him. Like,
yeah.
Charles Oliveira kind of is Tony Ferguson.
I agree. This is a weird matchup.
I mean, they both have submissions. They both can stand and bang. And it's just so funny, too, because, Charles Oliveira's on a 7-win streak. Like, that's got to be, besides, like, Khabib, that's probably the longest streak in the division right now.
I know. This is don't get me wrong. I'm taking Tony Ferguson, but I don't know if he's going to win. Those are the fights that are the most awesome, is when you don't know who's going to win.
Right. The last three, this fight and the two before this, we're talking, we're like, I don't know who's going to win. Because we don't, and no one can tell you they truthfully know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But that's what makes me excited. I can't wait to sit there and see. I'll be giddy that night waiting to see, like, oh, is Tony Ferguson going to win? Like, and these fights all matter. These three that are really close, they really matter for the division, and it's going to be very exciting to see what happens. I think Charles Oliveira gets it done, and here is my reasoning behind that. Mainly, I think there's a chance Tony lost something in that fight against Gaethje.
That's entirely possible.
And that's based on nothing. This is not based on skill. I just think.
Well, it might be based on how many times he got hit in the head.
It's strictly based on how many times he got hit in the head, because you see that in the UFC where someone will be just dominant and so good until they get knocked out once. And Tony didn't get knocked out cold, but what happened to him might have been worse.
I think he would have benefited from being knocked out cold earlier.
Yes. And you can lose something in a fight like that. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they can't get it back. So for that reason, I think I'm going to go with Charles Oliveira.
All right. I've got to pick Tony just because it's Tony.
It's Tony Ferguson.
It's Tony Ferguson, but I don't know who's going to win this fight. I'm picking Tony Ferguson, but not sure he has any better of a chance. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure. And, man, the Tony Ferguson fan, I'm picking Tony. I like Tony. They're going to kill me. I'm not sure that we ever were proven to that Tony was as good as he was billed, right? You can say that he didn't lose a fight in 8 years, right? How is he supposed to do any better? But when we look at the layout of the lightweight division right now, he doesn't have a single win over anybody that's ranked above him, right?
No.
Like, how do you go for 8 years and not fight anybody in the top 5, essentially, right? His best win ever is Rafael dos Anjos.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Right? I mean, but Rafael dos Anjos, and when he beat him, Rafael dos Anjos was still maybe not on the rise, but on a plateau, if not a slight decline, right? But I'm not sure I would favor Tony Ferguson, obviously not against Gaethje. I wouldn't favor him against Conor. I wouldn't favor him against Khabib, and I certainly wouldn't favor him against Dustin Poirier. I might not even favor him against Dan Hooker.
Yeah.
I mean,
those are – the thing about Tony Ferguson is he's so good.
But he was beating up guys that other guys have also beat up.
Yeah, you're right. I
mean, not that many people – in his defense, not many people have gotten over on RDA like he did. But and again, I don't know if this was because he wasn't taking the big fights. I've never known Tony Ferguson to turn down a fight.
No.
Right? Maybe
I doubt that
he will never match up with any of those other top guys, but he got just bludgeoned by Justin Gaethje.
Justin Gaethje could have had arguably multiple 10-8 rounds in that fight. Yeah. I mean, he beat Tony Ferguson on his feet the entire time.
Yeah.
Tony Ferguson landed one good shot that entire fight at the end of maybe the third round.
And I think that was when the aura of Tony Ferguson was kind of broken and busted down. It was like, oh, wow, I didn't know anybody could do this to Tony. Like, he had such a cult following. He had such this mystique around him of, like, he's got such weird strikes. Nobody can touch him. He hasn't lost in 8 years. To then just...
Justin Gaethje, it was like Justin Gaethje had his head on a tee, literally, and was just loading up right hands as big as he possibly could throw them and hitting him.
And props to Tony Ferguson. That man had to have the fight be stopped out of mercy by Herb Dean.
On his feet.
On his feet. Tony Ferguson was not going to quit. Tony Ferguson might have the best chin ever, or at least had. Maybe his chin's not going to be like that now, but...
That was, I just remembered, too, my other reason for picking Oliveira. This is a 3-round fight, something that Tony Ferguson hasn't done for a little while. And Tony Ferguson has been known to start out a little bit slow. And I think Charles Oliveira is going to realize what this fight needs. I think he's going to come out really hot. I would be less surprised with a Charles Oliveira winning the first 2 rounds and fading in the third and potentially getting submitted or losing. But I think Tony Ferguson's going to need to get himself pumped up and ready to go right away.
I don't think that Tony Ferguson is going to submit Charles Oliveira.
No, I don't think anyone is. Either of these guys.
No. I think this fight is ended via strikes.
Yeah. I don't think it'll end. I think it's going to be a decision.
True.
2 rounds to 1. Charles Oliveira wins the first 2. Tony Ferguson comes running back in the third. He can't get it done. But we'll see. It's going to be a great fight.
Yeah. We've been talking forever. Let's get to our main event.
Okay, our main event, Deiveson Figuerato is back against Brandon Moreno. Just 1 month, not even 3 weeks or something, off of his last title defense.
And credit to Moreno. Moreno is turning around just as quickly.
Absolutely. Both these guys fought in the last pay-per-view, and this will be the first time this has ever happened where a champ defends his belt twice in a row.
This is like twice as fast as the quickest defense of all time.
Right. I think that the quickest defense was like 60 some days. This is like 28 or something, or 21. Yeah.
21 days.
Yeah. Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Out of a guy, too, who Davis and Figueroa it's not the easiest for him to make the weight.
No.
It's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
But he is a minus 315 favorite. He's 20-1. He's beat Joseph Benavidez twice. He just dismantled Alex Perez. Since getting that belt, since being at the top of this division, he really hasn't met anyone who has given him much of a problem.
You know what? I'm going to disagree with you. I think this is a hot take, and I don't think many share this. I don't think he dismantled Alex Perez. Alex Perez was outstriking him, then took him down, and Davis and Figueroa just flung around to literally the first choke they teach you in MMA. Outside of maybe the rear naked choke, I can't believe that he got Alex Perez in that. Now,
you're right.
I was going to go, no, it was within the first minute.
It was right away.
It was immediate. So, who am I to say, that? But I think that Davis and Figueroa is in a dogfight here.
Against Brandon Moreno, I think this is a good fight.
Yeah. No, I'm excited.
I think Brandon Moreno plus 245 I think it could be a little closer, maybe not. I mean, nobody's really beat Davison for a while. But the way Brandon Moreno, he did dismantle Brandon Royval, I will say that, who we were both very high on. And he's got another win over Kai Kara France. I mean, this guy is going to be able to strike with Davison Figueroa. I mean,
yes. Yeah.
I hope this fight stays on their feet and we just get an absolute brawl.
I want to see the God of War go off.
Yes. And I don't want to see him get behind Brandon Moreno and get another submission finish in the first or second round.
I don't think that would be good for him either.
No.
He bills himself as the God of War, the violent flyweight that is the mean, he needs to beat somebody up.
Yeah, he needs to be the God of choke.
No, I don't want him. I don't want him to be the God of choke. I want him to be the God of punches.
That wasn't funny.
It was funny.
But yeah, so that's an exciting fight. Props to both guys, and you have to believe that Davison Figueroa is going to have a little bit of trouble getting the weight back down.
Yeah,
I heard Daniel Cormier was saying that he thinks it'll be easier for him to make it the second time. And I completely disagree.
I disagree with that incredibly.
And as a wrestler who, well, you know why it is, though. Look at the weights where DC has wrestled and fought. Never has he been as sucked down as your typical college wrestler.
Well, in college he was, but not in MMA.
Not in recent times.
Yeah, in college he wrestled at 184. But,
yeah,
I mean, even when he'd step on the scale at 205, it was clearly tough for him, but he was clearly not looking like most college wrestlers.
No, he could take a fat test and they tell him he could go down another weight class or two.
Yes.
But Davison Figueroa at 125 is not like that. His whole body is sucked down and shutting down.
Yes.
And what happens when you cut weight that hard is the next time you want to do it, your body realizes what's happening. So as he makes this cut, his body is going to make it harder and harder for him to lose his weight because it's going to hold on to everything he gives him.
Yep. For example, and I know this is anecdotal, this might not be backed by science, but the easiest time to make weight at 125 for me in college would be right at the beginning of the season, the Luther Open. The first time down, it was easy. And then
shock your body.
Exactly. And then as the weeks go on and the mental stress, the physical stress, what you just brought up, right? The physiological stress and the physiological effects that your body goes through, right? It just wears on you, man. And I'm not saying that Davison Figueroa and Brandon Moreno are doing what college wrestlers do, but it's closer to what college wrestlers do than what MMA fighters do traditionally.
Yeah. By fighting this soon.
Yes.
So I really hope so. I think getting on the scale it won't be the toughest, but that's going to be a huge challenge for Davison.
Yeah.
I think he'll get it done. I hope, but he's missed weight before.
Now, I know if you miss weight for a title fight and you're the challenger, you don't have the opportunity to get the belt.
Right.
But if the champ misses weight, and Moreno still beats him, do you take the belt? Or could you blow weight and then just your belt's not on the line? I would hope that the belt would still be on the line.
Got to be up. It's got to be up to the challenger, and he'd have the choice to fight even if he doesn't want to.
True.
Because you don't have to fight if your opponent doesn't make weight. But why wouldn't
you're
you
challenging for a title and this is your first shot? You bet you're still
also
taking that.
throw all that off to the side. If David Figuerato misses weight, Brandon Moreno's get 30% of his paycheck, which is probably bigger than his own right now.
Yes.
But all that aside, I think this is a closer fight than we think. I think this is the first time Davison Figueiredo really gets pushed. I think he probably still comes out on top, but I'm excited for him to make a statement maybe.
Me too. And I don't know how long we've been recording, but it's been forever, right? So let's get on with our lives. Let's end this podcast. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram, both at Casual Combat. Engage with this video on YouTube, comment, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. It's fun for us to engage. And this is me just going off on a limb here. Maybe we'll have another t-shirt giveaway sometime soon. I think that would be a cool way to maybe get some of the audience maybe a little bit more engaged. We'll be announcing that stuff on Twitter. But for the folks that don't have Twitter, don't have anything, engage with this in some way, and we'll let you guys know how that giveaway is going to go down.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. See you later.
Oh, my gosh.